coming up on your favorite podcast. We are back talking football. Week 4 in the books, and there's a lot going on. We're going to start with Herb. Going to get into some of that. Definitely a lot of fallout from that situation last week. We'll talk Broncos, Ravens, and one of the more underreported stories of the weekend about running up the score and getting extra yards and personal team records, and where do we stand on the unwritten rules of football, if you think there's unwritten rules. I don't know. Then I must make an apology. Must apologize to both Ryan and Zach. I will do it on the pod live, as I always will, as I always said I would. The Elimination Chamber, as always, the power rankings, of course, and we debut. We talked about it last week, but I think it's an official debut this week of the Tito Santana Award. Can't wait to give that out. It should be a fun one tonight. So it's week 4 of the podcast. It's Zach, it's Ryan, it's me, and it's next. Enjoy.
Welcome back. Your dreams were your ticket out.
Hey, it's the Tim Anderson Podcast. I'm Tim. That on one corner is my buddy Rhino. Hey, Rye Guy, how we doing? Ryan Nelson Kane.
I'm good. Can you guys hear me okay? Is my mic not cutting out tonight? Are we all right so far?
So far, so good. If we can keep it that way, I'll be ecstatic.
Goodness gracious, me too.
It was a trying effort. I don't know if Zach's heard the Burbs podcast yet, but it was pretty aggressive.
Yeah, it wasn't fun. I got to be honest with you. It was. I seriously considered throwing the old computer system off the deck and following it myself here.
Well, I'm glad you didn't do that. And on the other side, of course, we have the defensive coordinator, the owner, the coach, the guy who is going to work the audible call hot piss at the line of scrimmage this week. Our buddy Zach Nienaber.
Is that a true story?
Oh, that's a LaFleur line from his presser today.
Oh, Jesus.
He told
All
the
right.
Packers they had to wake up with their piss hot because they were playing at noon.
That's quite a line.
It's almost better than how hot's your chili. I mean, isn't it? It's in the Brewster territory.
If at any point in the next 5 years the entire LaFleur regime just crashes and burns in Green Bay after Rodgers leaves, I'm not saying it will. I'm not predicting that. But if it does, put that one on the soundboard. Because that's going to get played for all time. Is your piss hot?
That little missed field goal there by the Seahawks was nice for the under.
That is good.
So,
and
as a Vikings fan, it's oddly familiar.
It's going to be a good bet tonight because we are debuting a new segment here. We got Zach's best bets coming on later on in this podcast, where Zach the Greek offers up maybe three or four bets to look at this weekend, and maybe the under tonight. He did say he had the under in tonight's game at 53. You're looking good for that. Nicely done so far, at least one half in. As, of course, we try to record during the Thursday night games this year. It is 7-3 at the break between the Rams and Seahawks. Hawks with the lead. Rams lost over the weekend, leaving Arizona to be the last unbeaten team in the NFL. Kind of a big game for the Rams tonight. We'll maybe get to that in just a second. But first, the big headline of the weekend, coaching in Jacksonville, it sure is a grind.
Oh, God.
Zach.
You had that one all queued up.
I did. I said I'd write the headline. Zach, Herb. I know you're not the biggest Herb guy in the world, and I know Ryan is a bit of an Herb guy, so maybe this will be a nice little back and forth potentially between you two. I have some opinions on this as well, but where do you come down on the Herb saga in Jacksonville?
We kicked this around when it was happening. I think the biggest issue for me is him not taking the team plane home.
Yeah.
And hanging out in town. And then, the secondary piece to that is after the video comes out, not just being upfront about it. The whole, there were some fans next door that wanted to take a picture and that kind of stuff. Like, if he just gets in that room with his team and says, hey, I had a bit to drink and it was a good-looking woman and I made a mistake, I think it blows over a lot quicker than this half-assed excuse, explaining it away stuff.
100%. Honesty is the best policy on this stuff. You can't go into an NFL locker room and lie to these guys. I mean, they're not dumb. You know what I mean? They're grown men. They know what you're dealing with. They know who you are. I mean, it's just walk in and be honest with them.
I'm of two minds here, and first of all, I completely agree that Herb is a pathological liar, and I would argue that Herb has been a liar from day one. He's full of shit in Gainesville. He was full of shit in Columbus. I think he's full of shit probably in Utah and Bowling Green and everywhere else he coached in his career. He tries to be above it. He tries to talk about, we only recruit the 1% of the 1% and all of this nonsense. And just at every turn, it feels like he's been caught in a lie. And that makes him a hard guy to root for in situations like this. You certainly don't feel bad for Herb. At the same time, I guess some of this feels like too much. And I don't know if you agree with me on this one, Zach. I'll throw to you first, or Ryan, whoever wants to take it, I guess. But my thought is, do the Jaguars really have to make a press release talking about how they're disappointed in their coach and, he has to regain our trust and all of this stuff? And why are we even talking about him losing his job? Like, what does one have to do with the other, I guess? I'm not a big guy, but it's weird.
I agree with you there. Like the talk that he was going to lose his job, I thought was a bit much. The interesting piece to me, where it all that stuff comes together, is because of the explanation and the not riding the plane home, and that's where it becomes like the trust thing.
Yeah,
that's where it becomes an issue, I think. And the reality is, he's 0-4. He looks like someone kicked his dog after every game. And that's part of the reason why people are piling on right now.
Yeah, I think that for me that the fireable offense wasn't what he did. The fireable offense was lying about it and not being on the team plane. If you're doing this in the off season and you get caught at the bar, or in the bye week, you get caught at your bar and some girl's grinding on you and it's not your wife, does it look bad? Sure. Is it bad for your personal brand? Absolutely, with your integrity and team culture and stuff like that. Is it a distraction to your team? Maybe. But I think that the bigger issue for me, the fireable offense, is that you're a guy who's preached focus. You're a guy who's preached communication and honesty on your team. And you have one standard for your players and your organization, and you completely subvert it for yourself. And for me, I think that's the fireable offense. If there's a fireable offense here, not the action, but the reaction to it, the reaction to the consequences of it. So I wouldn't say fire him if this is just in a vacuum, and I certainly wouldn't say be saying fire him if it were a situation where he was honest about what happened. But it's the reaction and the lying that I think is really going to lose him the locker room, and that's a distraction to the football team that they can't afford.
I got a big problem with, obviously, like I said, I don't like Urban's sanctimonious attitude when he was a college coach. I didn't really have the stomach or the patience for it then, but I really don't have the stomach for the sanctimonious nature of like sports media or the Jaguars ownership. Or just people in general jumping on Twitter, and talking about this like what he just did was the most egregious act in the world. And yet, right. It's like, listen, this is the same league that currently has not suspended Deshaun Watson with 23 offenses next to his name. I mean, accusations, sure. But let's stow the toot here a little bit on that. Let's calm down on what's really egregious and what isn't. I'm just as upset as the person who decided I'm going to get viral with this video and record a drunk NFL coach in his own bar. I'm just going to go ahead and record this and send this to his wife on Twitter in the hopes that I can get some clicks and some whatever. I hate rewarding douchebags like that too. I can't stand the voyeuristic society that we live in. So part of me is defending Herb. Part of me thinks he's a scumbag. And I guess it's weird. I don't know. Maybe that's just where I'm at in my world here. It just drives me crazy that we're going to get all whatever about it. I mean, yeah, I'm with you, Zach. I think the fact that he didn't fly the team plane home is the biggest problem I have.
Yep, and we'll see now where it goes from here, because the hard part is for Jacksonville, if he continues on this path of they're not winning games, they're not competitive, they lost the opportunity maybe to get out from underneath his contract with him, and now they're kind of, they've got a lot of money to eat if they want to get rid of him.
My issue, too, I got a little echo. Who's got the echo? Oh, my. There we go. We got it. I don't know. That was a little creepy at first to hear myself. But I'll just say this. Man, that echo got me. I totally lost my train of thought. There's no way Herb finishes this season, right? Do we have the vibe right now that come December, there'll be an interim coach in Jacksonville? You just get the feeling like this is not going to last all 17 games, right, Ryan?
Look, I think winning cures all ills in professional football, especially. But at the end of the day, you've got to win to cure the ills. And I don't see a situation in which Jacksonville's going to rattle off a bunch of games real quick, unless they can pull something together. And I mean, part of that is you start to look like you're putting something together against Cincinnati, and you completely crumble in the second half, and all of that momentum that you could have seized is suddenly gone. And then you have the distraction of the head coach going out and doing this chicanery, this buffoonery, this skullduggery over the course of the weekend. I think that it completely kills any potential that you had of taking some coachable moments out of that game. Though I will say, perhaps the team comes together with kind of this, organized disdain for the head coach that can pull them together a little bit. So there's always that potential that this swings back the other way, but I don't see it.
But
that's never a good thing when your team motivation is we don't like the coach.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So we'll keep an eye on this one, right? We'll keep an eye on this one. Herb, certainly on, he moved up the first coach fired list. We were talking about who that might be, and we might be getting into that realm. We thought Nagy last week. Now they're 2-2, and he looks like a genius again.
Well, come on, they beat the Lions. Let's relax a little bit on the genius talk. You beat the Detroit Lions. They're not just a hospital squad. They were considered to be one of the worst teams in the NFL before the season.
And I just think now Herb moves into the conversation of first coach fired.
For sure.
And I'm a little bit, I was a little surprised at that. I thought he'd be first coach to quit. Now he might actually be first coach fired. That makes things even more interesting. Zach, I have to ask you this. You are a coach. You've been a head coach of multiple sports. You've been around multiple games. Let me ask you about the Baltimore-Denver game. Ryan, you're familiar with this story too, yeah?
Yes.
So Baltimore decides on the last play of the game they need 5 yards to keep their streak alive rather than take a knee in a game they've dominated. They decided to run a play, get the 5-6 yards they needed to keep the streak alive. There's a little part of me that really likes this because John Harbaugh has all of a sudden really emerged as the players' coach of this league. And it's real gutsy. It has a lot of moxie to it. I kind of like it. But it clearly rubbed Denver the wrong way. And I guess, what is the code in football? We've heard about the code in baseball for years. Is that a code in football, or is this much ado about nothing?
I don't even know that they were running the ball to get to 100 yards. I think they were running the ball because Denver kept chucking the ball in the end zone on that final drive, and they were like, fine, if you're going to keep playing, then we're going to keep playing.
Yeah.
But either way, I don't have a problem with it. My theory has always been, if you don't like it, stop them. And they weren't able to stop them all game. So I think if you're, Denver and you're getting pissy, maybe your great defensive mind should have, been a little better as a great defensive mind and stop someone.
No, I totally agree. I mean, we talk about, the losers lament a little bit, and as much as the referees thing is the losers lament, there's also the, they didn't play the way the game's supposed to be played. Well, they played the game. Right? You run the ball when you're up at the end of the game to close out the clock. You don't have, there's no rule that says you have to kneel down. There's not even an unwritten rule that says you have to kneel down. You run the ball, right? The teams have done that for decades. When you're up, you run the ball. If you can't stop that means your team isn't good enough to win. So I have no patience for what Vic Fangio said. I thought it was just kind of whiny and bitchy. I have no patience for it.
And I would say if you're talking college football or high school football and you have a multiple score lead at the end of the game, like, I am all for running plays with your second group or your third group.
Yep.
Like, those kids should be able to run the offense too, right? They shouldn't just have to come out and take a knee. They shouldn't have to come out and just run, 2 plays between the tackles and call it good. So I'm fine with teams who run and try to score again and all that stuff, especially when we're talking about, kids who don't get a chance to play often and stuff.
Yes.
A little different maybe in high school, but still, it doesn't. In the pros here, with what we're talking about. But again, if it bugs you that much, stop them, or just get out of the way and let them score. Like, if you're that offended by it, just let them go down and score and be like, yeah, we don't even care. Go score. Like, I don't know.
The argument of, well, I thought we were about player safety here and all this. It's like, okay, let's stop. Let's stop with that. So the one more play is the difference. The 79 that we ran, it's all part of the game. But the one that you're running extra that we don't want you to run could risk our players' health. And it's just, again, you want to talk about disingenuous. That's the stuff that really kind of, I just don't like it from a. It's always somebody. You're a big fan of these unwritten rules when it's going against you, but man, when you're in the lead, you don't want to hear anything about it. Like, I'll say this about John Harbaugh: if he ever complained about another team or anything like that, I wouldn't have time for it. But I never hear him really do that. So it's clear that he's on board with the all is fair in love and war kind of theory, and I think more teams need to adapt this in the NFL. This is the way to go.
And look, like I said, teams have done this for years. You run the ball when you're up. You expect that if you're the other team. If they don't come out with the personnel of a kneel down, what are you looking for? Do you think that they're just going to come out there and chuck? It's not like they were styling on him. He wasn't throwing 50-yard bombs to Hollywood Brown to close out the game. They were running the damn ball. What's the problem here? The problem is Vic Fangio lost, and he didn't like who he lost to. And I got a lot more respect for John Harbaugh, and John Harbaugh has a lot more credibility in this league than Vic Fangio does as a head coach. So it's really hard for me to take the side of the Denver Broncos head coach who hasn't done diddly shit in this league since he got the head coach job, when he's losing to John Harbaugh, who's a Super Bowl champion and has been widely regarded as one of the better head coaches in the NFL.
I'm glad you said diddly shit, not diddly poo. Like, that would have gone back to Jim Moore. That would have harkened back to something else entirely. Has John Harbaugh been the coach of the year through 4 games? I think he is.
What makes you say that?
Well, he goes for it on the 4th and 1 to seal the game against Kansas City. That's a gutsy call. If that goes the other way, who knows? He wins that game because he coaches to win that. He figures out a way. They're down all these people. They've injured. They got 4 or 5 guys that are out for the season. 3 of them are running backs. They're playing with Latavius Murray, who wasn't even on the team at the beginning of the season. They've beaten Kansas City. They went on the road and beat an undefeated Denver team, a Denver team that we agree is not the world's greatest Denver team, but still, 3-0 is 3-0, and you go on the road, you win that game, and you dominate that game. And again, he just it feels like he's getting more out of his guys than some of the other coaches are getting in this league. John Harbaugh might be my early vote.
I don't know if I 100% can get behind any one person right now. There's people who are going to say it's Cliff Kingsbury because of the record, but I don't know if I buy that right now either. I think that there's arguments to be made for a few different guys, but I can't discredit John Harbaugh. I mean, he's doing a great job, obviously. I just think that it's tough for me to get behind one guy right now. Nobody's really standing out. There's a lot of teams are really there's kind of a log jam up the top right now.
I will also say that LaFleur went 13-3 2 years in a row, and he hasn't won it yet. And we know how some of these awards go, where eventually,
that's true too.
It feels like a lifetime achievement award, not necessarily just for the year.
Although, if you ask Viking fans on Twitter, then Mike Zimmer deserves it for almost going 4-0.
Hey,
3 plays away.
Listen.
3 plays away, baby.
No. I'm not letting you have that. Screw you. You yelled in our text message this weekend about, I was giving you shit because you're all over the referees. You talked about, oh, man, we're really getting jobbed here.
I didn't say it was why they lost the game. I said it was a bad call. We
really should be 4-0 or 3-1 at worst right now.
Where did I say we were getting jobbed?
You said the Kendricks call was bullshit. We should be up 8-7. You said that.
I said it was bullshit. I said one call was bullshit, and they gifted him 8 points. I didn't say that's why we lost the game. I didn't say we were getting jobbed. I said we got jobbed on a bad call. Bad call.
Are you going with the Thielen call at the end of the game, like everybody, like your guy Ron Johnson's going with?
I have never said that call should have been called. I never said it.
Ron Johnson is terrible.
Ron Johnson's really bad.
At the end of the game, it's a Hail Mary situation. They shouldn't call it in that position. I said they shouldn't have called it for Rob Gronkowski in the Bucs game last year, and they don't call it for Adam Thielen there. You don't call it.
Speaking of which, that maybe should be the name of the episode this week. Ron Johnson is terrible.
You know what? I might just do that because I've been trying to think of what we should name these NFL weekly pods, and maybe that's it. Maybe Ron Johnson is terrible. He's really bad at his job, and I'm just saying.
The bottom line is you don't deserve to win if you score 7 points. I agree with that.
You told me you weren't going to talk to me for the rest of the night on our group chat because I said something.
I was done in that moment. I was angry. I was upset. I didn't want to say something I'd regret, so I said, "I'm done with you right now."
At least I have a witness to this. I have a witness to this conversation because then
it did get a little dicey.
I'm not sitting here denying it. I told you. I just don't want to talk about it.
My point is, you can't tell me to go pound sand and then 4 days come out here and rip Vikings fans like you aren't part of the mix. You're totally part of the mob. Admit it.
I'm not the one sitting here saying that we're 3 games away from 4-0.
3 plays away. You're arguing.
I'm not saying that. We should have won those games. Yeah. I think the team is better than their record. Yeah. But we're 1-3.
We need a ruling on this. I think we need a ruling.
On what ruling? I've said nothing controversial.
You're in the Scolger camp right now. You're all about it. You're like, no, we should. We're 3 plays away from being 4-0. Zimmer's
okay. I'll say this. He has not said they were 3 plays away from being 4-0, but he definitely said they were 2 plays away from being 3-0.
Yes. Yes, I did say that.
All right, I'll let you have that one. If you apologize right now, I got to make an apology to you.
All right, I'll apologize, Tim. I'm sorry. I told you I was done talking to you.
Thank you. It hurt my feelings in the moment.
I know it did.
It did.
I'm sorry for that, but
we're gonna get over.
If I'm not allowed to offer an excuse, but if I'm allowed to offer an explanation briefly here, you were
intoxicated.
Well, confirm or deny, I'm not going to say because I don't drink, so it's that or another thing. Here's the thing, okay? When the Vikings lose, I try really hard not to shit talk anyone else's team because I'm a Vikings fan. Okay, I understand. I have endured as much, if not more, heartbreak than almost any other fan base in sports. Right? We are cursed. I don't talk shit about other people's teams. I have friends that are Lions fans, and I don't talk shit about their team to them. So it's difficult. It's hard to control it, but I don't. But every time the Vikings lose, I get a million text messages making fun of the team, specifically directed at me, asking me questions. Ryan, what's wrong with your team? Ryan, what's going on with your team? And I'm just saying it's not fair play, right? Like, I'm not talking shit about your team. I'm leaving you alone. Like, I told my buddy Newey when the Raiders lost on Monday night, and I told him that I thought that they would. I hope they lose on Monday night after he was talking shit to me on Sunday after the Vikings lost. I didn't talk shit to him. I said, look, you'll get him next time. It's a tough game. You'll get him. Don't get too down about it. And that was the end of it.
Okay, well, hold on. I think sometimes you're misconstruing us for talking shit.
Oh, I'm not saying you.
Okay,
but
because I think
it's in that moment I'm getting 100 text messages saying, Ryan, what's going on with the Vikings? How'd they do? Did they lose? Why'd they lose?
But in the moment, that's when it's the best to get those reactions, right? To get your in the moment feeling of what happened, like that, and then we can come out here and hash it out in a couple of days. Like those are the in the moment feelings.
I'm trying so hard to be a better person. I'm trying so hard not to throw my controller and break my mouse and break my monitor when the Vikings lose. My wife and I had a fight after the Cardinals game. We had a fight after the Cardinals game because I almost broke my desk when he missed that kick.
Well, that's a preposterous statement.
I was so angry he missed that kick. I was looking for anyone to blame. The dog was right there. He went to his kennel and cowered. I didn't do anything to him, right? I would never hit that dog. But in that moment, he was terrified. Okay?
Well, you're a big hulking guy, and you're angry about...
I'm trying to be a better person, and I'm trying not to get as angry. So Tim, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're wearing Helga horns, and you're walking around the place.
But when I say I can't talk about it because I just can't handle it at that moment.
I gotta remember.
I just need you to understand. I love you, man, and I don't want to ruin this.
It's
because
fine,
I'm flying off the
this is
handle
good.
Some trash.
This is good.
So that does it for Viking stock for this episode.
Yeah. And Ron Johnson sucks. That's what we're going with.
Vikings fans are annoying.
Sometimes I forget how young you are, Ryan, because last night, Uncle Zach and I had to regale you with stories of the 91 World Series Game 7, and you were like, yeah, that was 2 years away from me being born. And then Zach and I immediately had to get a little depressed, and then we proceeded to wax nostalgia about Jack Morris and tried to tell you the stories like...
Yeah, you were saying a bunch of players' names I'd never heard of before.
Oh, heavens. I mean, there's times I just got to remember. Go ahead.
Which names didn't you know?
Oh, Lonnie Smith. I didn't know Lonnie Smith. That one's for sure. I didn't know that one.
Okay, so you didn't know the famous deke out of Lonnie Smith. All right.
Let me find it here. Here's Tim's. I'd rather be the middleman in Abu Ghraib. There it is.
I stand by that statement.
It's totally fair. I don't know who TK is. I don't know who Smoltz is. Pendleton.
What?
That one doesn't make any sense.
No, stop this. This is madness.
I don't know any of these names. Okay, first of all, I'm not a baseball guy. Second of all, it was 2 years before I was born.
TK. Tom Kelly.
TK.
The manager.
I don't know who that is.
The manager?
Okay, I didn't know. I'm sorry. I grew up on Ron Gardenhire, and that's all I've known.
Smoltz is a Hall of Famer.
Okay. I don't watch baseball.
All right, we're way off track here.
All right, we're back on. I'm sorry. You're right. But sometimes I forget you're young. Because when you're old like me and Zach, and we've seen so many bad losses in our lifetime, we've kind of gotten numb to Vikings losses. I think
Zach's not even a Vikings fan. Can we just throw that out there?
But he's had some Packers losses. He's had some tough, especially in recent years. In recent years, they've had some tough ones. I'll give him that.
They've won 2 Super Bowls in my lifetime.
They should have won like 6.
I've never even seen the Vikings in one. Do you have any idea what I would do if the Vikings were in a Super Bowl? Let alone win.
See, I don't know if I could handle them losing one. If they get there, they have to win it. That's the rule.
If they get there and lose, you won't talk to me for a week. You won't hear from me. You'll have to send out a search party. The amount of shit that I'll have talked and not be able to back up, I'll be gone. I'm sorry. I'll disappear off the face of the earth. Anyway.
Here's my apology. I have to make an apology to you and Zach. Okay. 2 weeks ago, you jumped on this podcast and you said the Steelers stink. Ben Roethlisberger's washed. While I didn't necessarily disagree with you on Roethlisberger being washed, I didn't want to throw dirt on him yet. I wasn't ready to do it. Nor was I ready to throw dirt on the Steelers because the Steelers to me have been the steadiest of eddies next to the Patriots for the last how many years. And there's just some things that make sense in this life, and the Steelers being good and tough makes sense in this life.
Sure.
They stink, and Roethlisberger stinks, and Roethlisberger needs to retire. I hate to say that, but it's over. It's just over. And I was wrong. I apologize to both of you. You saw it clearer than I did. You were right earlier than I was. I didn't want to come to your side out of sheer pity, or out of spite, out of anger, out of frustration, out of denial. I want to tell you both that I'm sorry and that I blew it. You were right. Ben's washed. Steelers are done.
Thank you.
I have a story about this, just real quick. So my dad isn't a big sports guy. He doesn't watch sports it's certainly not the way that I watch sports. He knows the players, he knows the names, but he doesn't really watch. So we were talking the other night, and we were talking about the Steelers, and he was talking. He was like, "How's the football season going?" He's asking me about what I think, and because I had just gotten back from the Vikings game, and I was frustrated. And said it was a tough game, and I said, there's a couple of teams I'm really high on. I think I really like the Dallas Cowboys this year. I think they're a lot better than I thought they were going to be coming into the year, and the Pittsburgh Steelers are awful. And my dad said, when I was a kid, the Steelers and the Cowboys were like the two teams. I said, yeah, the Steelers are good. They got a good core. Their defense is pretty good, but the quarterback is washed up. He should have retired at the end of the year. And Dad says, who's their quarterback? I said, well, it's Ben Roethlisberger. And my dad said, he's still playing? I said, yeah. He's like, I know that name from like 15 years ago. I'm shocked he's still playing.
Did you tell him that there's a guy named Brady who's 7 years older and he's still playing as well?
I'm sorry, Tim. We didn't get to your man crush in the conversation with my dad, who doesn't follow sports. We ended up getting back to real conversation about life. Instead, before we got to a Brady slurp fest,
you didn't talk about pliability and how you can stay flexible as you get older. I feel like that's a good life conversation.
I did not walk him through the TB12 routine.
So I feel like you kind of buried the lead there for a second. You were at the Vikings game this week?
I was, yes.
So the question is, did you have your face painted?
I sure did, yes.
I feel like we need an apology segment for that.
Yeah.
Why? What for?
Oh.
Look, man, I have so few things that bring me joy in life.
Painting your face brings you joy?
Going to Vikings games and going all out is one of those things.
Do you at least keep a shirt on when you go?
Pass.
Oh, dear God, Ryan.
No, I do. I do.
You do? You
at
do?
At least until the third quarter. I said at least.
You're telling... You are... New rule.
I said at least.
Your shirt has to stay on all 4 quarters of a football game. It's bad enough that you're going to wear face paint, but you need to at least wear a shirt.
Says who? What rule is that?
Says Uncle Zach and I are telling you...
No, not Uncle Zach. No. I'm a 30-year-old man. I will do what I want. I paid money for that ticket. What I do in that seat, as long as I don't break the law, it's fine.
I think not wearing your shirt ought to be against the law.
You know what? You can think what you want. Let's talk football instead of Ryan's shirt.
You're right. I'm sorry. Fair point. Zach was just—he has no words for it. Zach's out of words for the lack of shirt.
He's just staring at the screen like I've just said I killed his mother or something. I don't think he knows what to make of this.
You okay, Zach?
I'm hanging in there. I might need another drink.
I was gonna say, get the blue curacao out. You got a long way to go here before you're done.
I think this is the first podcast in like 4 weeks we've done where my camera's been on. My shirt is on.
Thank Christ. I'd hate to think what it was the other way. Anyway. Hey, let's go. Since we've gone through the apology segment, if anybody else have an apology they need to throw out?
Oh, God, I need to apologize to everybody who said that Baker Mayfield was a bad quarterback because they're right.
He's got a torn labrum, in fairness.
I don't care. That's
the other reason. Then. You're sitting there going, the Vikings only lost by whatever. Vikings fans were like, listen, if Baker Mayfield was halfway competent, you'd have run. You'd have been run by 4 touchdowns in that game.
I was sitting next to my buddy Nate in the stands up there, and I said, that guy can't throw. He can't throw a pass. He missed 3 wide open deep balls. 3 through the course of that game. 3 of them. Unbelievable. One of them off of Cam Dantzler's helmet, which is
you have a torn labrum. I mean,
yeah.
Then I'm just saying, if your shoulder's that bad and you're an NFL quarterback, don't play. That's your.
Well, that's fair too. That's fair.
That is fair. It's a fair comeback. All right. New segment here on the podcast. Zach has been a bit of a Greek this year. He's been gambling like crazy, totally legally.
He's going to go on CBS and say some racist things like the Greek did?
No, not Jimmy the Greek. No, he's not Jimmy the Greek Snyder. It's not quite there.
Okay, good. As long as we're not doing that.
He's not doing that. He's not going to be in the remake of Cannonball Run anytime soon either. But Zach's got some best bets because he's seen it pretty clearly. I'll give him that. He predicted, and I'll let you take all the credit for this, Zach. You text me at 9-something Sunday morning and went Jets, Jets on the money line. Book it. And I said, you're insane. You're insane. You're setting your money on fire. And he said, no. And he stayed with it, and you cashed. Congratulations.
Yeah, it got interesting, too, because part of it was... the injuries with the Titans and stuff. And the more I looked at it, the more I thought there was a lot of value there, right? It was plus 225. And the other part, the niche I've gotten into a little bit is betting on some of the underdogs. And then if things start going well early, getting on the other side of the live line, and you're able to hedge it out where you're going to come away with a profit either way. So that was kind of my plan. And the funny thing is that the book just had so much liability that they never opened up the live line again after the Jets took the lead. Right when the Jets got their first lead, they never posted a live line again because I think they knew that they would have had hundreds of thousands of dollars coming in on the other side to hedge it out, and they'd be taking a huge loss either way. So it worked out well. They made me pull my hair out a little bit in regulation when they gave up the touchdown at the end, but it was a nice win. And so, when we talked about it, you asked me to come up for a couple picks this week. I told you guys earlier I was on the under tonight. Obviously, that doesn't help anyone who's listening. They can't get in on it, but that looks pretty good right now. We're at 16, and the line was 53.5. And then
it buys you credibility, is what it does.
Well,
yes. I mean, and again, right?
And we can vouch for you saying that you did say to take the under on this.
Russell's finger looks horrible, by the way.
I did hit it just before the game started. I think I put the bet in at I'm looking at my bet slip now. I think it was at 7:19 or 7:18, something like that. But anyway, my other two bets for the night or for the weekend in football, I'm looking at the San Francisco Giants straight up. I think there's some value there. The line is dropped to 5. It was up at 5.5 earlier today, but they're plus 190 on the money line, and I think they have a chance to go into Arizona and win. I think they have the style of offense and stuff, and I know they're dinged up at running back, but I think there's good value there. And then the other one that I like is the Titans -4 in Jacksonville. I just think with all the stuff going on, and the Titans coming off a bad loss, they rebound and win that game. So I don't know. You guys can share what you think of those two picks.
Is your Niners pick based on the idea that Garoppolo plays? Because I gotta say, if it's Trey Lance, I'm very concerned. Lance hit the big pass to Deebo Samuel, but he really struggled to complete a pass in that game. Obviously, the big hit to Samuel, he was so wide open. The Legion of Room defense gave him all kinds of space on the outside there, and it was an easy touchdown. Samuel's having a hell of a year. But is this based on Garoppolo or is this based on Lance?
Well, that's part of the risk you take there. And again, this falls into that idea of coming back and hedging on the other side, possibly mid-game, if it starts out well. Obviously, I think I like him a little better with Garoppolo, but I will say that, we saw the progression of Fields from week 1 to week 2. And if you have the ability to game plan here now too, I think Shanahan will have a different approach maybe here if Trey Lance is starting the game. So, that's why I'm falling there where I'm at. And like I said, right, it's plus 190, so it is a bit of a longer shot. But there's value there if they get off to a start where you can hedge back.
Yeah, I agree. I think even if Lance starts, the game plan in my mind is probably a lot of short passes trying to break guys open and a lot of some, like you said, there's the injuries at the running back position, but they're going to probably try a lot of that read option sort of stuff with Lance with his legs to get that Arizona defense moving laterally. The Vikings had a lot of success with that in week 2, where they were able to kind of move those cutback lanes against the Cardinals despite their speed, and they were able to kind of move the ball in those short passes situations. With the mesh throws and the screens, and I think you'd probably see a lot more of that out of San Francisco if Lance starts. So I agree. I think that it's probably a pretty good pick on that.
And as far as Tennessee goes, I like the. I think the Titans win by at least they cover that 4. No question about that. I mean, the Jags got a lot of stuff going on. I mean, Lawrence looked better last week. I think that's the thing that goes missing with this whole Herb thing. Is that the Jags actually played a half-decent football game last Thursday night. Trevor Lawrence played his best game as a pro. They've got something in James Robinson. Now, they did lose DJ Shark for the rest of the year, which stinks for them. But that's going to be an interesting game but Tennessee gets A.J. Brown back. Derrick Henry's had some big games in the last couple weeks, so it looks like he might be turning the corner a little bit. Health has been the issue, but I got to believe Tennessee's due to win this game.
Well, and I think that you look at who ran against the Jags last week, average Joe Mixon, he had a good game last week against the Jags defense. And I don't think that Cincinnati run game is anything really to write home about, especially when you compare it to the running game of someone like Tennessee. So Tennessee could run the ball up and down the field on Jacksonville this weekend and cover that pretty easily and just control the ball the entire time. Lawrence could have a really good game, sure, but it might not matter because he might not have the ball nearly as much as he did last week.
For sure.
I'm a big fan of those bets, Zach, so we're going to keep an eye on that. We're going to try to track that here as the season goes along. I'll try to get that written down here so we can track and see how you are doing financially the rest of the year. That's a pretty good bet, though, and maybe we'll turn it into a few more picks every week if you are red hot with the money line as you have been. So nice work on that. We'll keep track of that. Time for the Elimination Chamber. This is one of my favorite segments, obviously, every week. This is where we obviously throw a team in there. I feel pretty good about who we have to throw in there this week. Last week was one of the worst showings of the season. Dan Campbell's nuts, and things aren't going well. Do we like Detroit this week to go to the Elimination Chamber finally?
Well, considering they're probably starting like 4 or 5 second-string guys on their offensive line and defensive line, and they're missing – I think they're top 2 cornerbacks this weekend, and they're probably going to fall to 0-5 on the road to a Minnesota team that's going to want to, put some things together. I don't see that they're healthy enough to compete right now.
And just to clarify, we have eliminated Atlanta, New York, and New York.
Correct.
Yep.
So
all of them who have won after we've declared them dead, they go out and they win the next week. That seems to happen.
That was a trend last year too.
Yep, that was exactly it.
Here's the deal. I agree with the Lions pick, but it is remarkable that we're going to go into week 5 and still have the Jaguars.
If we want
in the mix,
we can toss Jacksonville into this mix. I'm open to having the conversation because they're certainly. I mean, the Lions have played better games. The Jags played their best game of the year last year to Cincinnati, and the Lions have played better games. Something about that Chicago loss was really stenchy, though. I mean, it really looks bad. And, they're clearly not better than Chicago. They're clearly not better than Green Bay. Jacksonville, Tennessee's clearly better than Jacksonville, I think. The Colts?
No,
I don't know.
Here's the deal. I think we've talked about this too, right? Your division and stuff have played into it, and you can't call Jacksonville dead when they're only 2 games out of first. So,
I think the Lions are a full 3 out when you factor in a tiebreaker. Right. So there might be 4
3
out.
Plus.
Yeah, 3+ out already, and that loss was disheartening to me for Detroit because they have fought. I give them that. They're a 66-yard field goal away from beating Baltimore. I thought they made a pretty furious comeback against San Francisco week 1. They had the halftime lead in Lambeau week 2. So there's been stuff that you sort of like about what the Lions do. They just can't pull 4 quarters together. But last Sunday was disheartening because it just felt like they were never in it. And the injuries, as Ryan mentioned, is duly noted.
And they just continue to pile up. You lose the second best center in the league this week. It's tough.
I don't know if you guys just saw me cringe there, but I just saw the footage of Russell Wilson throwing and hitting.
Yep, I saw that. That wasn't good.
Hitting Donald's arm, and his middle finger is just contorted. It does not look good.
I saw it about probably 30 seconds before maybe you did, and I was just trying to keep it. I was trying to keep a poker face. I couldn't look at the screen because it was. He's waving one direction, and his middle finger was waving the other direction at somebody else. It was almost like he said hi to 2 different people. I
do not do well with that kind of stuff.
No, leg breaks, things like that. I'm way out. Can't do it.
The gal used to go to bed and fall asleep with Grey's Anatomy on, and I swear every night I'd walk in and somebody'd be just gushing blood or, missing a limb. And I'm like, I can't do this. Like, you can't have that on when I come into bed. So she's had to change shows now.
Can you put on some goddamn Seinfeld or something? Anything?
That's what I put on. She's usually out by the time I get up there.
Yeah, Seinfeld.
Now that Seinfeld's on Netflix.
Oh, it's the best ever again. It's back.
Yeah.
Our life is back. Our life is back. Ryan, Seinfeld?
Not a big guy on that. I don't think I've ever actually sat down and watched it.
Wow. Oh.
Sorry. I just finished Midnight Mass on Netflix, which is great. I think the most classic TV shows that I watch, if you want to talk about classic TV shows,
One Tree Hill, he's going to say.
The West Wing and The Sopranos.
Sopranos is good. I'll give you that one. But you got to watch some Seinfeld. Come on, dude.
He's a big fan of Taxi.
It doesn't hit me as funny as it's told that it will be for me. It just doesn't hit me. You know what does? Curb Your Enthusiasm for me is just edgy enough on that type of humor that it gets me to laugh every time. Where Seinfeld doesn't quite get there for me. Maybe
Zach and I will have to compile a list of 10 baseball games you have to watch in your lifetime that happened before you were born, and then 10 TV episodes of Seinfeld that you have to watch.
Well, I can watch those after I see Major League.
And you haven't seen Major League. That's Jesus Christ. I mean, this is unbelievable.
I will say this: Major League is about as well done of a sports movie as you can do, right? Because we all know you go watch a sports movie, like the team is going to win.
Yep.
Right. Except for Little Big League.
Little Big League. Yeah, Twins, of course, you have to ruin that. Yeah. Why tell that story?
But that's about as good of a script as you can do in a sports movie, I feel like.
Yeah, Bull Durham's
although
great too.
It's not my favorite, but the way that right, Bull Durham I think is my number one baseball movie.
Mine.
But
Bull Durham's mine.
But that's not. It's not about a team and a season, and you know what I mean. Like,
yep.
So it's just a different one.
I like that one. Yep, we'll have to get Ryan to watch that. So you and I got to put some research together here to help Ryan get cultured. Ryan, a 2-page paper on Tom Kelly before next week is all. It's your homework for this week. So go ahead and get some research done on that. All right,
okay, Mr. Anderson.
Time for a new award we're giving out every week on this podcast. We finally settled on a name after last week. We settled on the Tito Santana Award, and here's what the award goes for. One of my favorite wrestlers back in the 80s, 90s, Zach, I'm sure you can speak to it. Ryan, you weren't born, so I guess it didn't exist. But Tito Santana would give every great wrestler a 15-minute match, right? Just a great match. It would always be fun to watch. And Tito would look like he was going to win. He'd press that guy as hard as he could, and just at the end would put the other guy over. Like, Tito was your classic enhancement talent guy on the roster. Give somebody the rub, give him a great match, and then put him over at the end. I want to give this.
He'd beat other jobbers, but
he would beat other jobbers. But if he had to go against somebody above him, he'd give him a great match and then put him over at the end. And everybody'd be like, "Oh man, well the Warlord just beat Tito Santana. Maybe the Warlord's really good." Not really, but young me believed that was like Tito Santana kicks ass. Anyway, and I love Tito Santana. I want to give this award to the team that's not good, the kind of the jobber enhancement talent of the NFL, who gives a great team a great game, only to put them over at the end. So to me, we can take some nominees on this. I feel like there are two good ones. I think it's New England, because I don't think New England's very good this year. I think they're going to struggle. I think they're going to be a 500 team right now, maybe a little above. But against Tampa Bay, they gave them a hell of a game. It went down to the wire. You had a feeling like maybe they'd win, and then at the end they put Tampa Bay over. I think New England is the Tito Santana Award winner this week.
So this award goes to a team that lost during the week.
I think they have to lose, right? Because Tito never won. Like nobody put Tito over.
Unless he's playing another jobber.
Unless they take on...
Right, unless you're taking on the Jaguars.
Yeah, the Jaguars are the equivalent of like the Repo Man. You take on the, Haku. You take on Haku, and maybe you get put over in that one. So I like New England for this award. Anybody else have a nominee? I think there's another team we could talk about that I think gave a team a good run and then put them over at the end.
Well, I think that the Panthers are going to fit this mold more often than not. I think they're more pretender than contender with, when they started 3-0 and their loss to the Cowboys. But I would agree that Patriots game had a lot, and man, were they close. You felt like, right? You felt like they were going to come down, and they had the chance at the field goal, and then you were going to get like, oh, can Tom go out and score in the last 50 seconds? And everything was there. You saw the story coming, and then the rug got pulled out from under you.
And I was going to give it to Philly up until that point because I actually thought Philly gave Kansas City a really good game. And I caught that a lot on Red Zone. I thought that was a super intriguing game, kind of fun to watch until the fourth quarter when Kansas City sort of took the game over. But I thought for 3 quarters or so, that was a really interesting game to watch.
Well, you caught it a lot on Red Zone because the whole damn game was in the Red Zone. It was 72 points.
Yeah, it was a lot. Ryan, what do you think of what did you see? Did you agree with these two, or is there somebody else out there that you thought could fit the Tito Santana award?
Oh, there's a great team for it that y'all haven't mentioned yet.
Minnesota Vikings.
The Minnesota Vikings.
Oh, I know. You can't. No.
Let me explain.
That was the Red Rooster.
You take you take the Cincinnati Bengals down to the wire, and you put them over, and they're 3-1.
Yeah.
You take the Arizona Cardinals down to the wire. They're 4-0, last undefeated team in the NFL. You beat the crap out of a bad Seattle team, and we're seeing tonight that Seattle's just not very good.
Seattle's Haku.
They're just not very good. You beat them by 2 scores at home. And you come out and you get the crap kicked out of you by a 3-1 Cleveland team. I think the team you're looking for is the Minnesota Vikings.
That's an interesting nomination. I'll take that one. That's interesting. So we're going to keep monitoring this all year to see how many times one person or one team takes home the Tito Santana Award for the week. Maybe they will become our perennial enhancement talent at the end of the season.
And we get the perennial enhancement talent matchup in 2 weeks when Carolina takes on Minnesota. So we'll get to see who's getting put over in that game, so to speak, and who's going back to the mid card.
I want to know too. Speaking of that New England game, like when does Bill Belichick go to his son and say, "You need to get a haircut and you need to keep your tongue in your mouth"? Like you can't. We can't let you go on TV looking like that again. Like you look like Bobcat Goldthwait. Like we can't allow that to happen in Patriot country.
I gotta be honest with you. Zach, is he your long lost brother, man? Well, see, you two look like you could be related. I saw that GIF of Steve Belichick, and I'm like, he's like the anti-Zach. He's out there and he's coaching a professional game, but he's got the mullet and he looks like a fresh pile of garbage, and he's making the faces and standing on the sideline just trying to. He doesn't even look like he knows what's going on half the time, but I'm sure he does. It's just you two look like you could be related. Are you secretly a Belichick here? Is that?
I just want to point out that I did get a haircut this week.
Yeah, you look good. I like that haircut.
You don't have the mullet. You don't have the mullet. That's for sure.
What are the odds Zach watched the game on Sunday night, went to the mirror, and said, "Oh Jesus"? It is. It's Steve. It's Steve Belichick.
I need a shave and a cut post haste.
I think I cut it Saturday, so I think I was ahead of the game there.
We'll give you a pass on that one.
Nevertheless.
Oh my God, that was I was blown away by him over the weekend. By the way, Steve Belichick's probably more likely to have a call at the line called hot piss. Don't you just get the vibe? Quick, hot piss, check. I'm just picturing that.
He's the only guy that you'll find in the NFL other than Dan Campbell who has laced his Mountain Dew. That was
I got no comment there on that one. Oh my God. Guys, we've crammed a lot into this pot already. Let's get to the power rankings. Oh, by the way, before we get to the power rankings, big matchup this week in the Ultimate Football League. We should talk about it. Ryan's Stone Cold Stunners take on Zach's Brooklyn Brawlers in the battle of 3 of the 5 champions in this league. 5 crowns.
Congrats on the win, Zach. I just want to extend my congratulations to you this week. I hope you enjoy the win. I had good luck. I just enjoy it.
Are you waving the white flag on the season already?
Not on the season. I just where I'm at with my lineup right now. It doesn't look good. I'm missing my biggest piece. Dalvin Cook's not healthy. My best wide receiver got hurt in week 1. My tight end really who I paid a good amount of money for, who I thought would be more involved, has been injured and not playing well. I've got some flashes, some guys on the bench doing okay, but right now I'm scuffling, trying to figure out who's what. I'm looking at trade situations, trying to diversify my investment a little bit. But right now you caught me in a good spot.
So you're saying overconfidence is our only enemy. I just want to point out that the projected score is me winning by 0.9. So
yeah, that's the projected. Let me tell you how many times I've met my projected number. Let me tell you how many times I've met my projected number this year. I think it was once. Scuffling, not looking good.
I think this is totally a build-up by Ryan. Total false sense of security. Yep. Doesn't want anybody to see him coming. Just wants to hide way underneath the radar here and let everybody else kind of duke it out at the top. And then Ryan's sitting there in the top 6 and in the playoffs, waving everybody goodbye.
No, sorry. I'm just being honest. My team right now is in a really bad spot. I'm not confident with it. Not nearly as confident in my other league as I am in my other league, where I'm putting up 140 points a week. I'm in a really tough spot.
I feel like you should rename your team the Tito Santanas.
I'm gonna, before the end of the year, if I lose a couple more games, I'm gonna be the Blue Meanies here.
The Blue Meanie might be worth. Tito could beat the Blue Meanie. Tito would never take a dive to the Blue Meanie. He's not putting him over. Come on now.
I'm going to be Doink the Clown here in just a minute.
Hey, whoa now. I will not tolerate a besmirching of Doink the Clown. I just won't have it. Not on this podcast, young man.
I'm going to be Hornswoggle here before the end of the year. Coming out before onto the ring here.
Stop it.
It's rough. We're in a rough spot.
That's not even a real wrestler. Anyway, let's go to the power rankings. Last week, it's changing again. I think we're all agreed that we will not have the same number 1 that we had last week. It's going to be an interesting ranking. Could be all over the place. We've got a lot of 3-1 teams. I'm curious to see where it goes. Zach, who's your number 5?
My team attack about the week at number 5 is the Cleveland Browns. Their defensive output the last couple weeks has been really impressive. And we're 4 games in. They've given up like 65 points, somewhere around there. But that team seems to be able to get after the quarterback and play defense. And if they get enough out of their offense, that's going to be a tough team to get out.
Yep.
Number 5 for you, Ryan.
My number 5 team of the week this week goes to the Kansas City Chiefs. They're putting it back together a little bit. You get a get-right game last week. Their defense is still questionable, but that offense can still score a lot of points. So they're dangerous. So I'm kind of treating my number 5 spot the same way Zach is, where team to talk about Kansas City. I thought about putting the Chargers here with kind of the hot streak that they're starting to put together a little bit, but I'm going to put Kansas City here.
I think Kansas City's defense, though, has not shown me anything. Like, I am super concerned at their ability to stop anybody of substance late in the game. I definitely think that we can't give up on them. They're going to be there at the end, but man, that defense through 4 weeks has been really bad.
Yeah, I don't disagree, but I just think you look at the offense and how many points they can put up. They can outscore teams. They can just outrun you. And, it's not where you want to be in the NFL, but if their defense has any kind of a game that's even close to average, they're a team that can put up enough points to beat you. So they're never out of any game, and that's why they'll be my number 5 team for a while.
So just for the record, you have a last place team as your 5th ranked.
Yeah.
All right. Just want to make sure I was understanding that correctly.
Team to talk about, man. I told you I'm treating them the same way.
Not good Geno Smith in the game for the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, that's not good for Russ. That finger looked bad.
When did they get rid of Tavares Jackson?
He's dead, dude.
He passed away. He's no longer with us.
That's not a joke.
Remember that he was always on the team, and his only job was to call the coin toss.
Yep, that was it. But he's no longer with us.
The Geno Smith wearing the Tavares Jackson number 7 out there, the honorary.
It's very special. It's emotional. I mean, it really is.
Let Geno cook.
Let Geno cook. Right now, he's hit a big play. Here we go. Anyway.
Also, I mean, I know we're getting off track here a little bit with the Sunday night game and stuff, but how about the double punt? Did you guys see that?
I did see that play. Yeah, that was fascinating.
So as long as the ball doesn't cross the line of scrimmage, you can kick it again.
Yeah. I didn't know that even. I had no idea.
Field goals too. Could you drop kick it on a block? Could you drop kick it between the uprights for a point?
I believe you could. Yes.
Oh my goodness.
So I have a good story about that I can share for. We'll save that for the after party here.
Save that. Absolutely, I like that. I'll put a pin in that. My fifth team. I had to go back and forth on this a little bit, but I am going to take the Green Bay Packers. I'm taking the Packers at 5. Yes, they had the bad loss week 1, but since then they handled Detroit. They went on the road and won a tough game against San Francisco on Sunday night. And they had a really strong performance against Pittsburgh last week. They're starting to do the things that Green Bay just does. They get a lead early. They keep the lead. They kind of, like last week at Pittsburgh, I was never worried at 1 minute in that game against Pittsburgh. And I think that says a lot about kind of where they are, of course, where Pittsburgh is too. But I'm starting to like what Green Bay's doing. And I think picking up Jalen Smith, kind of a good move. Of course, you wonder. I mean, because obviously when you get cut, there's reasons for that. But I think for Green Bay, that's an interesting pickup. And Zach, maybe you could speak to it better than me, but I kind of like that move by Green Bay.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see, right? I mean, here's the deal: they're not good at inside linebacker, so I feel like whatever they do, it can't be a step backwards.
So there's my 5. 4, Ryan.
My number 4 team right now is the Baltimore Ravens. We talked early in the season that if they could figure out how to throw the ball, they would be a dangerous team. That defense is starting to put it together a little bit. They're starting to throw the ball a little bit better. Lamar, for better or for worse, is putting the ball downfield. Now, how often he connects is going to be a test of time. But when they can throw the ball, they're a dangerous team. So I'm going to put Baltimore here again. Just another team that I don't know that they're the 4th best team in the NFL for me right now, but right at this second, I'm going to put them here to talk about them as a dangerous team.
I have the Chargers at 4. I know you mentioned them earlier, Ryan, as they were on your radar. I'm buying into Herbert, although I still want to call him a bear because that brings me back to my Tecmo Bowl days. But the Chargers are exciting, right? And they came out and they won a big game against the Chiefs and kind of, planted their flag in the ground and said, we're here.
And then you follow it up with the win. Especially, my only worry with the Chargers is it looks like they're going to play 17 road games. I mean, because it was 75% Raiders fans in the stadium that night.
But I mean, the Raiders are LA, right?
That's fair. I mean,
a lot of their fan base is still there. But yes, you're right. Anytime teams go, to that stadium for both the Rams and the Chargers, it really seems, the Chargers especially.
Yeah, the Rams at least have some roots, it seems, but the Chargers just feel like they don't have any roots, and you just don't feel like there's a base there that's going to really, create an advantage for them under any circumstances. They're going to have to win games with. I mean, when you have silent counts at home, that's just high level stress. That's stuff that you don't plan for or count on. I got to think that's going to bite them in a big spot at some point. I don't know, but they are impressive. They beat Vegas. They beat Kansas City. They lost a tough one to Dallas. I mean, they could be 4-0 pretty easily.
Us against the world mentality.
Might be the best thing, that total Ubuntu thing. It might totally work. I like that. So my number 4, though, is Buffalo. I'm going to take Buffalo here because I like, after that week 1 loss to Pittsburgh, they're kicking the hell out of teams, and their defense has been stout. And it seems like Allen is getting better every week, and they're starting to figure it out. That's the team I don't want to play in the AFC right now. They look really good. And you had Chargers for number 4, Zach?
Correct.
Got it. How about your number 3?
My number 3, I'm going to Tampa Bay. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. There's a lot to like there still. Yes, they lost a game to the Rams where the Rams look good, but I just think that in the end, they're a team that's going to be there, and now they're getting to a soft portion of their schedule too. Right? Dolphins, Eagles, Bears the next couple weeks. They got Washington and the Giants coming up. They're going to rack up a bunch of wins, and they're going to be there at the end. So they're my number 3 team.
Ryan?
My number 3 team this week, I'm going to go with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as well, for a lot of the same reasons. They're a tough team. They're going to have a softer schedule. They're going to have some chances to get some things right here. I think that 3 is a good spot for them, and I just want to say, after not putting them in my rankings last week, just to talk about some other teams, I think Tom owes me a bit of a thank you for the motivation to go out there and beat his old team in New England. So good for him.
It's the exact opposite. Tom's waiting for your apology.
He's
tough
welcome.
Love covenant.
Yeah,
he's welcome for that. Anytime I'll be happy to not rank the Tampa Bay Buccaneers if it means motivating Tom Brady.
I will also take Tampa at 3. I think. I mean, it was a fight. They didn't look great. Now it was the rain. There's a lot going into that game against New England. They still are banged up like crazy, especially in the secondary. But it just feels like, Tom's going to, at the end of the day, they're going to sit with 11, 12, 13 wins. They're going to be there in the end. I feel that way, as long as there's not injury. Give me Tampa at 3. Great. That looked great. Nice drive by Seattle, by the way. Gino,
is it 2012?
Gino took him all the way down the field. Apology segment to Geno Smith right now. All right, number 2. Ryan, give me number 2.
My number 2 team in the NFL this week is the Dallas Cowboys. They're going to continue to move up my ranks every time they win. That the defense continues to improve. They're not great yet, but that offense is very, very, very dangerous. Dak Prescott's playing the best football of his life. They're kind of flying under the radar right now because some other teams are playing a little bit more exciting games, but I think Dallas is a team that is going to be very dangerous down the stretch.
I thought about even putting Dallas in my 5 just to give you some love this week, but I couldn't do it. Wasn't ready for it. And
I'm going to keep getting more outlandish with these until you do.
This is utter nonsense. Now, listen, I'm not going to take anything away from Dallas. They're playing good football. They're not the second best team in the league. Come on now. Stop it.
Hey, yeah, let's take this a little more seriously, please.
Yeah. It's a serious podcast, damn it.
Yeah, we talked about taking my shirt off for 5 minutes.
Jesus H. Christ, what are we doing here? All right, Zach, number 2.
I have Buffalo at 2 for a lot of the reasons that Tim said, right? They've been blowing teams out of the water. The defense looks like it's playing with some lights-out football. I mean, they've given up 44 points in 4 games. That's pretty remarkable. And, even more so when you say they gave up 23 in the first one, right? They've got 2 shutouts on the year.
Yeah.
That's pretty damn tough to do in the NFL, no matter who you're playing.
I agree.
So Buffalo, I got Buffalo at 2.
I like that too. I think that's absolutely right. I'll take the Chargers at 2 here for me. I was just impressed by the quality of wins. I really am. I'm impressed with the Vegas win. I was impressed with the Kansas City win. Oh, never mind. I had the Chargers at 4, didn't I? Sorry. Who did I have at 4? No, I thought I had the Chargers at...
No, you have the Chargers. I'm just laughing because you're yelling at Ryan for taking the Cowboys. And then
the Chargers have an actual resume. The Cowboys have they beat Carolina. That's a nice win. I'll give you that one. Sure. But they beat the Chargers. I understand that. But that was on a 56-yard field goal in a weird game.
It's a win.
I'm willing to throw that out. I don't believe if they play 10 times, they're better than the Chargers. That's my belief. If the Cowboys play the Chargers 10 times, I think the Chargers win 7 times. 7, 8 times.
You're such a fraud.
What do you mean I'm a fraud? How dare you?
Fraud.
No, I'm sorry. I just refuse to slurp Dallas. I'm so sorry.
You're gonna sit here and ream me for taking Dallas, who lost to the Bucs by 2 points,
Dallas.
and then they beat LA and
Stop.
they beat Carolina, and they beat Philadelphia by 20
You're right.
points.
Dallas gets no headlines. Nobody talks about Dallas. You're right. Everybody loves Dallas.
Dallas Cowboys. You're just mad because they're the Dallas Cowboys.
Maybe that's true.
The only reason.
I'm taking the Chargers here, though, because I'm actually more impressed with the wins the last 2 weeks. If we're looking at recency, an on-the-road victory at Kansas City and a seemingly a quasi-road victory against the Vegas Raiders, I'm giving them credit for that. Those 2 really good division wins that give them a pretty significant leg up in the division late in the season. I think it's going to bear fruit for them. That's a team that could legitimately be the number 1 seed. I think if the playoffs started today, they're the number 1 seed in the AFC. So, like, they are in good shape to be a first-round bye potential team in the playoffs. That's huge.
I don't know if you guys just saw this, but the Tampa Bay Rays just stole home in a playoff game.
That's how they do it, I tell you. They just figure it out.
That's wild. I don't know. Okay, so I'll go with my number 1 team. I really wish you guys would take this a little more seriously, but I'm going with the Green Bay Packers at number 1. Shout out to Ty on that one. One of our loyal listeners. But it's time, right? I mean, everything's coming together. They've got the whole team on the IR. They're 3-1, and nothing's going to stop them now, right? A negative 5-point differential, but they're my number 1 team.
I did say I think they're trending. That's why I made them my 5th best team. But come on, Arizona's not even in your top 5.
Well, I had to pivot when you guys were goofing around at 2.
What do you mean goofing around? I gave you the number 1 team in the AFC. What are you talking about? Ryan over there is carrying a torch for Dak Prescott. I can't do it.
Dallas has put up 126 points this year, Tim, and they beat your squad.
They didn't beat Tampa Bay.
No, they beat LA. Your number 2 squad, my number 2 squad, beat your number 2
on a
squad.
56-yard field goal.
I don't want to hear it out of you. They beat them.
Is Dallas the number 1 seed in the NFC?
I don't know who the number 1
Dallas,
seed in the NFC.
It's Arizona. That's why, because that's 4-0.
Okay.
Are they the number 2 seed in the NFC?
I don't know.
No, they're not. I think if the playoffs started today, they'd be like the 3rd or 4th.
Okay.
So in the worst division in football.
Are you really gonna sit there and tell me that 126 points isn't worthy after they beat your number 2 team?
The Chargers are in the toughest division in the league.
They beat your team.
Hold on. Just to clarify, if the playoffs started today, Dallas is the 2 seed.
The 2 seed. Okay. My apologies. My team is the number 1 seed in the AFC. In the toughest division in the league. Toughest division in the league.
Good for you.
I'm just pointing it out. Dallas plays in the worst division. My team plays in the best division.
They still lost to the Dallas Cowboys.
You're right.
This is going to be a great year on the pod.
It's going to be good. It's starting to heat up. It's starting to get a little hot in here, and that's when we know it's going to be a fun year.
I'm carrying a torch for the Cowboys. They're a good team.
Yeah, you got photos of Dak in your room. Let's just be honest about it. Anyway, number 1 team is Arizona for me. 4-0. It's pretty obvious. They're playing really good football. They're beating good teams. They beat the Rams last week. You got to give them some love for that. By the way, Rams just marched down the field in like 5 seconds. That did not take them long to do at all. They're back in control of that game, just so you know. Rams are looking really, really good still, but that was a great win for Arizona. I love what they're doing as long as they can stay healthy, and that's the primary concern is can Kyler and those guys stay healthy. If they can, they're going to be there at the end. Ryan?
My number 1 team's the Buffalo Bills. Their offense is clicking on all cylinders. Josh Allen's playing amazing football right now. That defense is fantastic. They can compete with anybody. They can beat anybody. And I don't buy Arizona 100% yet. So I'm going to go with Buffalo in this spot.
I think you're just upset because they had beat Minnesota.
I don't think that's it at all. I put them in my rankings last week.
They're the only undefeated team in the league.
Okay.
They just beat the team that we
ranked
ranked number
so
1. I know, and I'm yelling at Zach about it too.
I don't want to hear it out of you.
It's nonsense.
sit here and tell me the Chargers are better than the Cowboys when they already saw them on the field.
Oh, sweet Jesus. I mean, you're right. They're better. They won by a point. Calm down. Anyway.
3 points.
It's not like Arizona's resume is all that impressive.
Right?
Jags, Vikings, Titans, and Rams.
All right.
The one great win on there is the Rams game. And it wasn't particularly close, so good for them. But,
Green Bay has a pretty terrible loss on their resume, though. And
don't you may need to rewind here 20 minutes on the pod and go back to the bet segment.
Yes, that's true.
I told you they're going down this week.
You sure did. I can't argue. Oh, my goodness. What a contentious hour and 15. I enjoyed this thoroughly. Gentlemen, Brian, when your mic is working.
By the end of the year, Kyler Murray's going to be looking at playing third base for the A's.
Oh, I hope so.
They could probably use him, too. I mean, they're not going to pay him much because we all know kind of how the A's do business. But he's going to make more money holding the clipboard in the NFL than he'll ever do playing third for the A's. But maybe he won't get hurt as much. Guys, it was a fun pod. I enjoyed it tonight. It got rowdy, but this is what happens when Ryan's mic works from start to finish. So that's just what you can come to expect here on the podcast. I want to thank you, everybody, for listening. Pod's been sounding great this week. A lot of people have been listening in, some first-time listeners. We have a UK contingent listening now, which is kind of fun. So we hope we can continue to get that. Continue to subscribe, share it out wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible, everywhere you can get a podcast, you can get this podcast. Continue to support it. I appreciate it. TimPodcast1@yahoo.com. Facebook.com/TimPodcast. Anywhere you can find us, send us a line, drop us a comment. It'd be phenomenal. I make a steady promise to read any and all commentary on this airwave. That's the way I feel about it, and that's how we will do it. So, until next time, for Zach, for Ryan, this is Tim saying keep your head up. We'll see you.